Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast, Season 3. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
And I'm George.
And tonight, George steps out of the ring in Philadelphia and into the waiting arms of Travis and I as we talk about Rocky.
Hometown hero. Well, not for you.
Not for me, but for you guys. I'm sure you were very excited to see that one building that we've all seen him run up the stairs. George, this is your first time with Rocky. I'm sure you're culturally aware of the character.
Yeah,
how you
very.
feeling tonight, man?
Pretty good.
Travis,
Pretty
how you
good.
doing, sir?
I'm doing gravy. Definitely gravy. You? How are you?
You know,
No one ever asks how you're doing.
Nobody
Dan.
ever gives any care to Dan. Season 3, turning over a new leaf. How is Dan tonight? You know what, Dan?
It's our
Dan's
New
good.
Year's resolution.
Yeah, we're going to find out how you're doing.
Yeah, care more for Dan.
Hey, Dan. How you doing?
Hey.
How you doing?
Yeah, man. Glad to be here talking about one of the all-time great movies. I hope George liked it, because if he didn't, what do we do? Besides
I learned something
call
new watching
Sylvester
this movie.
Stallone and ask him to convince George that Rocky is indeed worth the time spent. So, George, first impressions. I mean, this movie is a pillar of American culture. Everybody has seen this movie referenced on cartoons, and every movie since then has some kind of Rocky edge to it. Heck, TV show. I mean, guys, Rocky is Rocky. So, George, you finally saw it. First impressions?
First of all, the movie did not start off strong. It was dated.
I mean, it starts with a boxing match, and it was made in the 70s. What do you mean by dated?
What do you want?
There was a lot of just a weird vibe.
What is it? What do you mean by
weird.
dated? I guess that's really my first question.
Like,
did you expect them to make it in the future?
no.
Then how?
I mean,
what's your expectation for a movie made in 1976 to look like?
all right. Well, let me finish my overall
Oh, okay.
before we'll get back to that.
Let's hear it before we fix you.
At least in this movie, it didn't, like last week, it took like an hour and a half to get to the plot. This one only took 30 minutes. They
Okay.
actually got to it pretty quick. Right? And I appreciate that.
Mhm.
It was good. As soon as like Apollo Creed turns around, he's like, I know what we can do.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, there's a plot right now. There's a
Shout
plot
out
happening.
to Carl Weathers, my favorite
Friend
person
of the show.
from the 70s and 80s period. That guy's awesome.
Yes. I met him twice.
What?
Very nice guy.
He
Very nice
seems
guy.
really familiar to me. Like I
Because
feel
he's
like,
portraying Muhammad Ali, basically. So, and you've seen him. He was in Predator. You've seen him.
yeah, I'm sure
throughout.
I've seen him in other things.
He's in the Mandalorian, which you don't watch.
He's in Action Jackson, which I just
Action
love for
Jackson. Yes.
I love it disproportionately. I shouldn't love it
Yeah.
as much as I do, and I cannot get enough of that movie.
It's his charisma. He's like Obama. He's got like that
Yeah.
thing. He's very
patriotic.
charismatic, like somebody you definitely want to hang out with.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. So anyways, yes, they got to the plot pretty quick. That was cool. All of the things that happened in between that first half hour and the last half hour, say, the actual match, all great stuff.
Mhm.
It was really good. It's what I don't know. I guess that's what I expected from the beginning of the movie. But I guess they had to develop
Yes.
the characters.
You
and,
have to give
and
a
such,
shit, or you don't care.
right? But it was just weird the way they developed the characters. They were just like, the dialogue was weird and felt like forced, and it just there's a bunch of weird stuff. Anyways, they get to the
Did you feel awkward watching it?
yes.
You were supposed to.
Okay, that's
All
what
right,
I
so,
figured.
yes.
When I was watching it, I'm like, he doesn't like. I don't know what this guy is. Is he? He's not. He's obviously a boxer, and
He's a loser.
well,
He's an absolute and total end of his rope loser,
right,
and they have to show you that.
and he doesn't. He's not fitting in. It doesn't seem like what he's doing is what he's meant to do, right? He's like the muscle for this, loan shark, who's not really even that good of a loan shark.
He's a hitman with a conscience.
Yeah,
He's
he's not
not
good
a
at it.
hitman. He's a.
I mean, like, not a hitman, but
mob.
he's
mob
muscle.
He's a muscle.
He's
guy.
mob
Yeah.
muscle with a conscience. Like he gave that guy. It's almost like the guy owes. Let's say you owe me $800 and I come to break your legs. I loan you $500 so this guy will not want to break your legs. That's Rocky Balboa. Like he's like, you know what? Here, take this money so that this guy can get off your back, and then keep your nose clean. Like he's that kind of guy, and they have to show that through different things.
Right. He kind of went in there as like a negotiator,
Right.
instead of like
but he even does it
the
with the
muscle.
girl on the street, and then she tells him to go pound sand. Like he's trying to give her all this fatherly advice, and then she says,
Yeah,
"Hey, Rock."
she calls
He's
him
like,
a
"What?"
creep.
Yeah.
Creepo.
Yeah, well, she creepy, creepo. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's just his life. I think that it's like you said, it's awkward, but it's purposeful. Like it has to. You have to see his awkwardness, his inability to interact with people. Then he finds this ugly duckling who is basically a female version of him. You know, big heart, but is just awkward in her own skin, awkward in society. Shithead brother, like just all these things you have to see to get to what you get to.
Right.
I mean, essentially,
So-
he's like a less old Luca Brasi, kind of.
Right. But you also have to see all that in the beginning because he's kind of a mirror of Mick. Like that conversation they have in the apartment is kind of like the conversation that Kevin has with the old man in the church. Like it's the moment where you realize that not only is Rocky a loser and aware of it, but Mick feels like he's a loser too. And his whole life has been, he's got nothing to show for it. Right. So you're basically seeing these two people that are the same person at different points in their life. Would you agree with that, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, they certainly run parallel. I don't know, they have different trajectories in a lot of ways. Mick has made more of himself than Rocky's on any pace to. So if anything, it feels like Mickey realizes like he only has a few years left, so he's going to try to replace Rocky, who he's given up on, with the other guys who have more potential. But then seeing potential in Rocky because of this opportunity, he comes swinging back. But I think it's just transactional.
He's kind of like that dad that tries to live through his son.
Yeah. Because
he didn't accomplish everything that he wanted to, so he sees potential in this new blood.
Now, Dan, I disagree that was that interaction was more like transactional because of the conversation that they had where Rocky asked him what his problem is basically. Like, what's your problem with me? What's your problem? And they go back and forth, and he says, because you're the muscle.
You're a leg breaker.
Exactly.
2-bit loan shock.
No, that I think that like that shows that I don't think it's a transactional thing because he says in that conversation that like he had potential and he's like throwing it away.
Right.
So he kind of like wrote him off.
He's a time investment that never paid off.
Yeah,
like
but
Mick
earlier in the movie when he
him.
takes the stuff out of his locker, I just feel like, if Apollo Creed doesn't come calling, Mickey's moving on because he realizes he's wasted his time with Rocky. And it's only once Rocky's given the opportunity that he like comes around to like, okay, now maybe
I think
I've
if
changed
Apollo
my
Creed
mind.
I think if Apollo Creed comes calling for someone that Mickey really didn't care about ever, he would just let him get his face smashed in.
See, I look at the Skid Row bags.
Mm-hmm.
I look at that differently. I look at Mick as doing tough love. Basically, inspiring these guys that are basically uninspirable and or so down on themselves that they don't think they have potential anymore. And he tries to, when I was a kid, you played football and you get that kid riled up and he's like crying and he gets the snot bubbles and he starts like really getting angry to the point where he performs. You've not militarily broken him down and to build him back up, but you've gotten into his psyche to the point where he now wants to succeed. to either prove you wrong or to get your affirmation. So you could tell him that he's nothing. Well, you wouldn't do this to a kid, but on the adult level, you're nothing. You're never going to be anything, blah, 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 blah. When in your mind, you think he can, but you think that's going to light a fire under his ass, and you're going to almost like for me, when I was growing up, my dad always didn't, for me, disappointing my father, him being disappointed in me was always worse than any physical punishment.
Right.
So if Mick were to say to Rocky, which he kind of did, you're a waste of life, basically.
Yeah, you're a disappointment. You're a disappointment. You're a waste. Yeah.
Right. So I read it that way. It was either like a tough love situation where he's lighting the fire under Rocky's ass to get him out of his rut, or he really did mean to get rid of him. But the love that I think he has love for Rocky, and I think he sees him as not a son, but somebody. He's like got a mentor mentality where he knows the potential because he shows it in the very beginning.
He can,
he gets angry. You can't stay in the ring with him.
He sees that Rocky's got it.
Right. It just is unfocused.
Well, and it does parallel the first fight where Rocky's pretty meh about the whole thing until he gets pissed off with the headbutt, and then he lights the guy up. I mean, that's not an accident that's at the beginning of the movie,
You're fighting for $20. There's really no incentive, technically. So.
Unless you want to be great, and you have to. I mean, I have trouble with fully like getting on board with Rocky as like this self-starter, because all this kind of happens because the opportunity arises.
Yes.
Which that's human, right? So it's good. It's like a good story.
Well, even when the opportunity happens, he still isn't confident in himself. He's kind of like sitting there, like when they're talking, they have the press conference on the TV, and he's just kind of sitting there. Like he's not, you got to see this. I'm so excited about it. He's almost like, he kind of thinks it's not a joke, but he kind of sees it as, I know what this is.
Yeah, and I think Rocky suffers from what a lot of people suffer from, which is like the doubt, the self-doubt, whatever. And how after, the first fight in the movie where, he wins and everybody is asking him how he did, and he's like, yeah, I did good. You should have seen it.
You should have seen me, yeah.
But like, he says that to like everyone, but it's kind of like he doesn't. He's like, yeah, I beat him, but he's nobody, but he's like, he just, and then it really comes to a boiling point where the scene where he's with Adrian in the bed, and he's just like super doubting himself the day before the fight.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not even in this guy's league. I'm not even, blah, blah, blah. And he's basically, sitting there like, preparing himself to lose.
Yeah.
And then figures, I'll just try not to get knocked out.
Right. I just need to go to distance.
Yeah.
To prove to myself that I can.
Right.
Even though I probably can't.
And that, spoiler alert, is exactly how the match plays out.
Right.
The ending of the movie was very, 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 very good. It was very Philadelphia.
Yes.
First of all.
Go on.
Just that. The victory that Rocky won was a moral victory.
Yes. You don't even really hear the decision.
Philly loves moral victories, right? I mean, like, until they actually won the Super Bowl. Now they're like, about real victories, finally. But yeah, dude, moral victories. I don't know. I feel like the who's the football player that like walked on like a.
I was just thinking about that too. The one that Vermeil picked up.
Vince Papale, yeah.
Okay, it's very Vince Papale. Like we love him, right? We like the Philadelphia like underdog mentality. Philadelphia is always an underdog, even when they're not. And we have this complex that being so close to New York and not being as It's just, playing second fiddle to New York.
Right.
Basically gives us this short guy complex. Right? I mean, that's what it is. I mean, Philly has like a short guy complex.
Well, I mean, Joe Frazier's in this movie. And
Yeah.
Joe Frazier is the
yeah.
version of Rocky that actually happened.
He's the real Rocky, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Rocky Marciano, and then I can't remember what the fighter's name is that he actually based this character on. But, you have Jersey Joe Walcott, who's from our town. He's legitimately from Pennsauken, but they always say he's from Camden. So,
okay.
Joe Cream was his name.
Okay.
But Jersey Joe Walcott is the Jersey version of Joe Frazier. And Joe Frazier is basically this story, that underdog that succeeds and becomes the face of Philly. So that's all true. So Rocky's false, but Rocky's, like you're saying, that Philadelphia mentality, that gathering underneath, next to the supporting the underdog and all that stuff, like that's all based in stuff that really happened in Philly and pretty much everywhere. But
right.
it's such a blue collar town that it resonates.
Yes, the collar is so blue in Philadelphia, and
well, you think about that time period, the Flyers were the same way. Like the Flyers were the brawlers, the Broad Street brawlers.
They were the Broad Street bullies.
Or bullies, and you would go to a Flyers game and watch those guys do their thing, and then you go hang out at a bar in Philly, and these guys come walking in and they have a beer with you.
Yes,
like that was just like
no. They have several
beers with you. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I can see why Philly loves it, although I'm not sure which came first, like like the chicken or the egg. Is this movie is it inspired by Philly, or does this movie inspire Philly?
That's a good question.
I don't know, because I wasn't alive. What was
I think Stallone's from New York area, so I think he was probably inspired by the Philly mentality. But then he's from New York, so I don't know if he would take that. I don't know. You'd have to ask him. Get him on the phone.
What I'm saying is Rocky so beloved in Philadelphia because Rocky tapped into something that was already there?
Right. Or did he inspire Philly to be that way?
Right. I think he tapped into something that was already there.
Right.
That maybe the residents of this area didn't even realize was there. Maybe. And maybe that's why it's so beloved.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how it is out in Kansas City, but I know down near the stadium, down near where the Spectrum used to be, where he did the fight, there's row homes. Like right, you're in your backyard, you can see the stadium.
Yeah. From
your backyard. Like it's just so, kind of like the way Green Bay is, where all the whole town shuts down, and everybody goes to a Packers game because the stadium's like right in the middle of town.
Yeah,
feeling like you belong to the city, and the athletes belong to you. I don't know if that's in every city. I know it's not like a bigger city thing.
I like to think that it isn't every city,
right?
Because Philadelphia is my city,
right?
So I like to think that my city's unique.
I'm
not sure if it is or not.
But I think that's a thing.
In the 90s, especially, and during the early Mahomes run, when the Chiefs game's on, if you go any retail store in Kansas City, it is dead. And if anyone's there, one of them's watching the game on his phone while his wife is dragging him through the store. Or vice versa. She's watching the game on her phone while her husband's dragging her through. Like, this is just one of those kind of towns.
And all the employees at the store are watching the game on the TV in the store.
But that is not every town. St. Louis.
But the next level.
St. Louis, I'm looking at you. You lost the Rams because you guys don't care about football.
They didn't care.
That's your fault.
There's a lot of towns that don't care. But with Philly, like if you have a game going on at Philly State, or when the vet was there, you have a huge Phillies game going on, and you're having a cookout. You don't have tickets for the game. You're having a cookout. You go in your backyard to put the steaks on. You can hear the crowd, like the roar of the crowd from your backyard.
Yep.
It's just really cool. So I think that's part of the reason why. And Rocky was kind of like that everyday guy. And that's why I think, and then Philly sees like the whole city, like the Italian market, and the art museum. He was living in Fishtown, like all these different things about him being. I mean, you could go down there today. You could walk down to Fishtown and go see that row home area where Rocky lived.
Yeah.
It's there. It looks exactly the same.
I did think when I was watching, there's certain shots that's definitely Philadelphia, almost like it was pandering to Philadelphia.
No, I think he was just showing it off.
The way everything was shot, like it was like very. It was very on purpose. You know, the art museum, the bridge over the Schuylkill, like there was just certain shots where it's like this is Philadelphia. There is no other place this could be.
Right.
The row homes, everything.
It's like a tourist film, but not showing you the historical. You know
they did. They had a
things.
really great shot. I mean, the shot that inspired the statue, which is now at one of the 3 stadiums.
No, the Rocky statue is at the art museum right now.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
It was at the vet though, wasn't it?
At the
some point?
lower steps area. It's not at the top of the steps anymore.
Wasn't it at the
It
stadium?
used to be at the
point?
Spectrum, then it used to be at
Spectrum. Okay, the Spectrum's not there anymore.
Right. Then
they
it used to be
demolished
at the baseball stadium.
The vet.
It's not there. Yeah, the vet. And then I think when they built the new ones, they put it at for a while. But then
for those that aren't from Philadelphia, the vet is Veterans Stadium.
Yes.
No longer there. Neither is the Spectrum.
Right.
But the shot where, if you look up the Rocky statue, he's got the hands up. He's at the top of the art museum steps, and you see down
Logan Square, I think it is. You see Independence Hall.
Yeah, you see Independence Hall.
Not Independence Hall. City Hall. City Hall. You can't see Independence Hall from there.
Yeah.
So Philly
whatever
question: where do I have to go in Philly to be serenaded by street a cappella?
Fishtown.
Okay.
Probably not now.
My next time I visit Philadelphia, I want to see you guys. I want to drive to Blairstown, New Jersey, and I want to see a cappella on the street.
What? I don't think that happens anymore, but it definitely used to.
Cancel the trip. I'm not coming.
Actually, hold on. If that's what you want, Dan,
it may still.
My father sings in an a cappella group. So I can make it happen for you. I
It's
don't know if we're going to have a burning fire trash can, but...
No, I think that a cappella is still a big thing.
It's a big Philly thing.
Around here, yeah.
But I don't know if it's like hooligans doing it on the side of the road.
No, it's definitely not hooligans.
They're usually trying to sell you soft pretzels.
I
flowers.
like the idea that this movie appeals to a universal underdog spirit, but does so with so much Philadelphia imagery that you guys think that you're the only underdog town in the country. I like that. That's cute.
Well, we're the best underdog town.
Yeah.
Is the best underdog town the worst town?
It's the most consistently underachieving, I think, is what you're looking for.
So I'm saying it's a New York Philly complex thing.
If you watch this movie and then you watch what's the Invincible? You watch Invincible.
Yep.
It's the same vibe.
Yes.
The same exact vibe, and it is because the things that inspired the movie Invincible that are real life character people and situations are the same things that inspired the feeling of Rocky. Yeah. So it's almost, you can almost think that Vince Papale is the real life Rocky Balboa.
Right. That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah. And where does Silver Linings Playbook fall into all this?
Don't know.
Because I feel like these three are like connected.
They kind of are.
Yeah.
They kind of are.
It might. I don't know. I got to see the new Kurt Warner movie to see if how they portray Dick Vermeil. But
we love Dick Vermeil in Kansas City.
Oh, I bet.
I mean,
he's amazing.
Granted, all we did was score points for like 4 years with no defense, but like, it was fun until the playoffs. Great. Then it wasn't fun.
Playoffs, yeah.
Yeah,
it was fine for me because usually the Steelers beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs. In those years, I enjoyed watching Dick Vermeil's pouty face. Although I do love that man.
The only thing that I'm waiting for in the Kurt Warner movie is to watch the crowds in St. Louis like dwindle after the first Super Bowl. That's what I want to see.
Unappreciative.
Ugh.
I think Kurt Warner's run is one of the earliest football memories I have. Like those, like I think it was like 2 years.
Wasn't
where
he
was
like
really
working at a
friggin'
Walmart
good.
like 2 weeks before they brought him?
Yeah,
I
he
don't
was
know.
sacking groceries
Yeah.
somewhere, and then
Yeah, he's packing groceries.
they were just like, "Oh, hey, we need you to throw the
Yeah.
funny shaped ball," and he was like, "Okay."
Yeah,
Super
Yeah.
Bowl.
It's
it's a great
boom.
story.
It's like one of my earliest memories.
So I have a feeling that movie's going to have the same feel.
Sure.
But yeah, I think the Philadelphia people feel that way because the city gets a bum rap. Sometimes it's deserved, but they were always almost winning or possibly winning.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get that, the opportunity that Rocky gets is so one in a million chance kind of thing. Like he basically, Apollo Creed just closes his eyes and puts his finger on a name, and he's like, yes.
Yeah, he liked his
it.
fighter name.
He's got a
That's
cool
it.
gimmick. Let's get him in here.
He didn't know nothing. Yeah, and actually, the fight started out like he said, very much like a show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he doesn't know it's a show. He thinks it's a fight, right?
Yeah.
And
he thinks it's a damn fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that guy.
Yeah, it's great. That was a great turning point in the fight. It was, I mean, yeah. That's good. That's good. Apollo Creed, he was a showman. He was like, he wasn't taking it seriously, and
Until that first punch.
And I think that, until he got knocked down.
Yeah.
But I think that, I think a lot of times, I don't know why this is always going back to sports for me. Like, it's other things too, but
this is a sports movie, probably third.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a human story. It's such a good story.
I think it's a human story, but I think it's a Philadelphia story.
Yeah, but it could, like Dan said, it could have taken place anywhere.
I don't know that.
Well, and I think what you're alluding to may be a lot of like post-Rocky, like,
Yeah, I mean, you've been around the pop culture for 40 years now.
Yeah,
Rocky is home.
I think you guys might have
yes.
adopted some of this movie that was made by a New York guy about a made-up guy who just happened to be from Philadelphia.
Like, I have a lot of deep-rooted nostalgia with this movie because of my childhood. Like, when I was playing football, I played from like 82 to 90, Little League, Pop Warner.
Mm-hmm.
And we would come out, like, we were undefeated like 6 years in a row. We were unscored upon like 3 years in a row. We were dominant. And when we had our banquets, my dad, the whole season, they would hand out cameras to like 7 or 8 parents. And the parents would just take pictures from first night of practice with our T-shirts and shorts to the championship games. They would take pictures. And then my dad would sit up with like 3 other coaches for 7 nights in a row before the banquet and build this slide presentation of the entire season to play at the banquet. And they would use the Rocky music for the songs to run the slides to. So when I hear these songs, not only am I having memories of the movie, but I'm having memories of my childhood of winning football games. And, there's like the sad songs from the movie with the championship type of games. So it's like you're remembering, songs, shots ending with kids with their hands up, like just like very celebratory.
Come to think of it, the one season that I played football,
Maple Shade, we did that. We did the slideshow.
You guys recreated that for me. Travis is my brother-in-law, but he's also like way older than me. So he was coaching me when I was, how old was I?
You were like 12.
Yeah, I was like 12 years old playing football, and he was my coach because he was in his 20s at that point.
Yeah.
And
before we were married.
Yeah,
Not
I
me
remember
and you, me and your sister.
What's that?
Not me and you.
Yeah, no,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, but we went, I think it was 10-3 that season. Is 10 games, right?
Yeah.
13 games, whatever. Yeah, dude, we got to the championship and lost.
Yep.
Just like Rocky. Then we had a slideshow.
Just like Rocky, man. It was perfect.
Just like Rocky.
And you hug the other team, and you're like, "We got to do rematch."
Where's your hat?
No, we didn't. I think we lost to Atco.
Ew. I have no idea who that is.
You don't know this,
but
they were undefeated.
They were.
We played Atco during the regular season, and they beat us. And we played Atco in the championship, and they beat us. And we had one other loss.
Terrible coaching.
At least you know where you stand with that team.
Yes. So, I mean, this music and the story just is like multi-levels for me. So I don't even have that Philadelphia feel. I don't really care about the Philadelphia feel towards this movie. I have my own personal Philadelphia feel towards this movie that it really has nothing to do with me living in the area. This movie's a part of my childhood and my life because of those moments playing football and using the music. Like, we would come out to championship games to the Rocky music. It was just, I don't know, it's just a different time. It was a weird time in my life where it's like, it's so vivid. I'm 46, and I just remember it like it was yesterday because of, like, when I was watching this last night.
Yeah, I mean, the
memories.
music is iconic. You know,
But the story itself, too, like, you know, beating adversity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, challenging yourself to go the distance.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the theme of this movie.
Absolutely.
The plot is given that chance to prove yourself.
Yeah, the plot's really far-fetched. But it's
really, I mean, it could happen.
It is, but
it has happened in real life.
There's a lot of things in this movie where I just had to say, like, you know, just stop thinking about it, just go with it. And that was one of those things. It's like, oh, really? We're just gonna, like, pull some dude off the street? Why was Rocky's name in a book? It was weird. There's a lot of things where I was just like,
well, the guy was a promoter. He probably had just a registry list of all the local boxers, because that was the whole premise. Was
in a book.
I want a local. Well, this was before the internet.
How often did they print this book?
It probably was like a ledger. They probably had names written in there.
No, it was a book. It was bound. It had binding.
Yeah, maybe they had secretaries that typed it. I don't know.
They had a thing with the publishing company. Once a year, they get a really nice bound version.
It might have been like a
exactly.
They did that back then.
Anyways, doesn't matter. There was a lot of things like that where I was like, oh, you just.
It's called a directory, and they used to print them every year.
Shut up and go with it. And I did. I shut up. I shut my mind up, and I went with it, and it was good. The movie was worth my time.
Yeah,
it should be. Yes.
Very much worth my time. Dude, I'm telling you, the first half an hour, I was not sure.
What? I
think it was the fedora. I mean, the fedora and the leather jacket is not what I picture. I picture my Rocky in sweats.
Right.
That's it. Period. You know?
So I picture him both ways.
Well, yeah. Well, I had never seen the movie, so I only know him. I only know him in sweats.
What's funny is I heard Stallone give a commentary on this movie once, and he talks about that. He talks about the leather jacket and the hat and all that stuff.
How awkward it was. How he
said he told them he wanted to wear a what do you call it? A suit of armor.
A sombrero?
No, he said he wanted to have a character suit of armor for this warrior. Basically, is how he described it. And the leather jacket, like he's such a vulnerable person, and that plays throughout the movie. Like he's like a child sometimes. He's vulnerable.
Yeah, dude, I can't tell. I mean, the first half hour, I can't tell if the dude's really dumb or not.
Right.
Like, is he smart?
He's taking a lot of punches.
Is he humble? I don't know.
Well, I think he's two of those.
Actually, we get to the end of the movie, and I still don't know.
Really?
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Why? Because he asks her where her hat is after he got his ass beat.
He's like, yeah,
it's a great line.
Yeah, it is.
Where's your hat?
I did notice she lost it too in the crowd.
I mean, it's such a good story. Even it's a good love story too. Like these two misfits find each other.
Absolutely.
Because of Paulie's a dick.
Yeah, the first conversation with Paulie when they were in the bar in the bar bathroom. Again, It's like Paulie's like looking in this little chip of a mirror at his hair. It's like, dude, what are you looking at your hair for? It looks terrible.
But
It's gonna look. It's gonna look terrible in the next scene. It looked terrible in the last
after
scene.
he gets done doing his hair?
He puts his hat on.
Puts his hat on.
Exactly.
That's funny.
Is it funny? Is it slapstick? Is it
It's not
sarcastic?
slapstick.
Or is it just?
It just shows. It shows that he's kind of a. I don't know if you could call him like a narcissist. He's kind of like he's just so about himself, but he's such a loser. Like I don't know if you ever met a person who is completely and totally thinks they're the shit, but when you look at them, you're like, dude,
nah, I don't
like
think he. I didn't get that vibe
I think
from
he
Paulie.
thinks he's.
I didn't get that vibe. You know what I did
don't
think
know.
when
He seems pretty self-important.
in the first conversation that they have in the bar bathroom with the chip of a mirror. I was thinking, he's like, Paulie, his sister? Did he say that chick was his sister?
Yes.
I'm like, did I hear that right? Is he talking about some other chick? Because that dude looks like he's about 50.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't look 50 at all. Like maybe like she's supposed to, like 30. Right? And I'm like, that was like a weird,
but
bad
she has
character choice, actor choice.
Well, I mean, you can have I had guys in my class that were graduating with their uncles.
It's not.
It's an Italian thing. Like you have so many family members that sometimes sometimes you go
back up.
I know a couple guys that are Italian. They're actually 2 years younger or older than their uncles.
Okay, what does being Italian have to do with that?
Well,
anyways,
her being that age and him being that age, she's basically taking care of him.
She's only 6 years younger than him too, in the actors. She's only 6 years younger. So
okay, so she seems way younger than him, and that was kind of like a bit of a problem for me at first, and that was another thing where I said, just stop thinking about it and go with it.
But these are not things that you have to like look past. Like these are good character plots.
Are they though?
Yeah, they kind of
are. A good character plot? I don't know.
George saw Rocky on the ice without skates, and he's like, just ignore it. This movie's just a movie. We're going to get through it.
Because you can't sing and dance. Oh,
bro, he's not wearing skates.
Is he really going to let him on the ice for 5 minutes? Like... These are things that are important.
I have my stopwatch out there. We're only on the ice for 7.5 minutes. Gosh,
3 minutes.
That was the most awkward scene in the whole movie.
By design,
I know it's supposed
man.
to be. It's supposed to be. He's walking on the ice like an idiot, even though like putting on skates would be idiotic too, because he's not about that. But obviously he's doing this for the chick
her.
because okay, so I get that. He's being vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
So whether you're on shoes or on skates, you look like an idiot, and you're going to do this for her. That's cool. The entire time he talks about fighting, which she's obviously not interested in, and it's very awkward, and I'm like...
I think she is interested.
At what point... No, she's not. At what point... I'm thinking... I'm like, I know they're doing this on purpose, but they're really, really laying it on thick. At what point is he going to ask her a question about herself and just shut up?
Right.
And I know it was done on purpose, but they were laying it on really, really thick. And I just had to look past that. Listen, it's a good movie. I like the movie. I like it. But
it's funny hearing your complaints because those very complaints are a lot of the things that make this movie endearing.
Yes,
so
I can see that too.
Bro, at the end of the movie, he doesn't even win the fight. Bro, you should win the fight, bro.
No, I love that. You know I love a tragedy.
But you see how they kind of just show you the winner without even talking about it? Like,
oh, it's so good. The ending is fantastic.
It's so purposely done. But
no,
everything
obviously
in that movie,
Rocky won. He made it to the end. He didn't get knocked out.
He won. But he lost.
Rocky won.
Right.
Yes. The amateur that didn't get knocked out by the pro wins.
Well, and he didn't lose any unanimous decision. He got a split decision. So one judge out of those 3 gave him the fight.
Right.
Right.
One of the most poignant scenes is when he goes to the ring the night before and he sees the promoter in there. And I can't remember what his name is, but he's like, the trunks aren't the right color.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, the fuck does it matter,
doesn't
Rock?
matter,
Like,
dude.
it doesn't matter.
You're just here to get your face pounded in.
And it's just like, so it sums everything up that you're talking about. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he worries about the wrong things. He's kind of self-absorbed, but he's a nice guy, but he doesn't know when to. He just talks to fill the silence,
Mm-hmm.
and he's only going to talk about himself because he really doesn't know anything else other than himself.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's such a mouse that she's not going to interrupt him because she's kind of probably not going on a lot of dates. But I think she's attracted to him, and the fact that he's talking to her might put her even more in a corner, like more of a mouse. But then when she finally does talk, she shows interest. She does care, but they're both just such awkward people.
Yes.
And they have to show you that throughout the movie, otherwise the part 2 doesn't make sense. And the ending of this movie, you're not going to care as much that even though he lost, he won.
And I think there's more to the arena scene than that. Like, you know, the idea that here he is working as hard as he is, putting in all this time and actually committing himself to a fight that nobody else has given him a chance in.
Right.
And they can't even get his shorts right. Like they don't care about it. It's not that he's necessarily self-absorbed. It's just that he has given everything he can to get to this moment and have a chance. And they don't even get his shorts right because all they care about is the fact that they're getting Apollo Creed to come in and punch him.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Because in the end, he's kind of also, Apollo Creed is kind of like the get for Philly. Like, here's the world champion.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Who's not from Philly. He's probably from California.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in our city. And he's chosen our city as the backdrop for this fight. And he's the get. Rocky's nowhere near the get. Rocky's just the lamb being thrown into the slaughter, which is kind of ironic that they show him fighting in front of Jesus like in the very beginning. He's like the sacrificial lamb in this movie.
Yeah.
And he fights back. You know, he proves everybody wrong, that he's not a bum. Because that's basically what it is. Mick calls him a bum. He calls himself a bum. Everybody calls him a bum, so he knows in his mind
I'm
a bum. And he knows that.
He is a bum.
Right. The only people that don't think he's a bum is Adrian. And Adrian.
He stopped. Yeah,
and then
he
Mick
stopped
eventually.
He stopped being a bum. He stopped being a bum when he took the opportunity seriously.
Right.
That's when he stopped being a bum. Before that, he was a bum.
And I don't think Paulie thinks he's a bum yet. I think Paulie kind of looks up to him in a weird brotherly way.
But he also tries to like cash in on his success.
Yeah,
like,
he's definitely a leech.
And that's kind of the Mick thing too. Mickey.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like the way that he pops up only after the opportunity, it's like, oh great, opportunistic chance to just ride coattails. Cool.
I think they did that on purpose because he does show up right after the press conference.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like not an accident.
You like my apartment? It stinks. That's that whole scene. It stinks. Like that. But then, God,
cut me, Mick.
It makes you tear up. Maybe after your 5th or 6th time watching this movie, that it stinks scene is so necessary because when he runs outside to get him, you don't hear any of their dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to. You see a man who's lived his life and is defeated and knows that Rocky's right. And you see Rocky realizing, I need this man to do this. It's a big scene.
It's the old learn from my mistakes.
Right.
Don't make these mistakes.
I
already made them. Learn from my mistakes.
It's true.
Right.
It's a very important part.
That's a very useful thing that men can teach other young men. All their mistakes.
Word.
Mickey played by Burgess Meredith, by the way, which I love Burgess Meredith from the other thing I know him from.
What's that? Yeah.
He's the penguin from the old Batman show. He's awesome.
Did you recognize Adrian?
No.
She is Michael Corleone's sister in The Godfather.
Connie.
Shut up.
Connie. And Spinelli's in this movie too.
Yes, Joe Spinell as
Joe
Gazzo.
Spinelli. Is it Spinell or Spinelli?
Spinell.
Who's Spinell? Who's Spinell?
He's
He was-
the loan shark. He's the
Oh. Yeah.
Hey, yeah, take her out. Take her somewhere nice. You know.
He's
That
in
is money.
Godfather.
Forget
He's
about
in
it.
Maniac. He's
He's
in
in
Cruising. I love him. Anything he's in, he's awesome.
He's popped up. He's a friend of the show.
Oh
He's
yeah.
popped
No
up
No, I
all the
mean
time.
he's been dead for 20 years, but he's definitely a friend of the show.
I'm pouring out some drink for him right now.
He's so cool, man. I mean, in Cruising he's not, but we'll see soon.
What about the driver? Take her to the zoo.
God, that guy's awful.
Such a dick.
That was funny.
Take her to the zoo, Rock.
It's a heck
What
of a
you done?
cast, though, man. I mean, just
I think
pitch perfect
if-
casting.
if you think that was over the top, the take her to the zoo.
No, I don't.
If you're watching this movie and you think that was over the top, like people wouldn't actually be that rude in real life.
Come to Philly.
Come to Philly. It's exactly how the fuck we are.
I've actually had that said to me.
It's for real.
Hey, go to the zoo.
Hey, take it to the zoo.
We all know what that means.
Hey, George, how familiar are you with pro wrestling?
A little bit.
When you were a kid, like a baby, there's this guy, and you've heard of Hulk Hogan, I'm sure, but
Yeah, I know.
when you were a baby, Hulk Hogan, every fight that he fought was the first fight from this movie, where
Mhm.
basically he would get the tar beat out of him, and you'd think, oh God, this guy isn't very good at wrestling.
And then he would drop the leg.
And then he would Hulk up because the crowd would get him pumped up,
Yeah,
and then he'd drop the leg.
Yeah.
And he dropped the leg.
But I mean, he was just doing Rocky.
What
and
the fuck kind of finishing move is that?
Dude, for a guy who
So
can't
Most
wrestle,
electrifying.
that's a
The most
finisher.
electrifying.
That's a finisher for a man who doesn't know how to wrestle. That's what that is.
You know what
Right.
you know what I just realized? That's why the people's elbow is so good.
Yes.
It's Hulk Hogan.
Yes.
It's an ode to Hulk Hogan.
Absolutely.
I love it.
But
That's why
from
he
a
says
guy
it's
who
the
could
most
actually
electrifying move in world wrestling history. It's like, no, it's not. Dude, it's so bad.
do it. You gotta do the big boot, and then you gotta do the leg
Yeah.
drop, and
Yep,
then you
the
gotta
boot. Yes, I forgot about the boot.
do the ear thing and the I am a.
Yeah.
I mean, even the I Am a Real American song has a vibe of like an Eye of the Tiger, which doesn't pop up till like Rocky 3, but it's all kind of in the
Yeah.
same ballpark.
Right.
Pop culture,
Hmm.
man. Rocky changed a lot and like integrated itself into our understanding. I mean, to the point that you think it's a Philadelphia thing, but it's like the whole country.
People in Philadelphia are obsessed with this movie.
As you should be. I mean, it makes your town look pretty good.
It's the battle cry. Like, I was at an Eagles game a couple years ago where they did the from Rocky 2, you'll hear Mick go, "What are we waiting for?" Right? They
Mhm.
would play that in the stadium and the place would just start rocking, and then they play the music. And the night I was there, fucking Sylvester Stallone was at the stadium.
Oh yeah.
I guess they were filming, not Creed. It might have been Creed they were filming. He was there, and they put him on the big jumbotron, and the place went ballistic.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Didn't have to say a word. They just
Yeah.
saw his face. It was awesome.
It almost makes me nostalgic. You know?
Yeah, and you just saw it.
No, I mean like all these years. There's so many years have gone by where I just thought the Eagles were like terrible, and I hated them.
Hmm.
And
You still do.
yeah, I still think they're terrible, but I don't hate them as much now.
Right.
Especially with what's his name? He's on his way out. He plays center.
Kelsey?
He's Travis Kelce's brother.
Yeah.
Jason Kelce.
Jason Kelce.
Yeah, dude. Jason Kelce is such a good dude.
If you were old enough in the 90s
Yeah.
to watch like the Buddy Ryan years
Mm-hmm.
with Reggie White and Seth Joyner and
Mhm.
Eric Allen and all those guys, Randall Cunningham, you would probably like the team more. But you started watching around the Kotite years,
No,
which was
no. I started.
The Ray
I started
Rhodes.
watching. It was Andy Reid,
oh wow. So even after Ray Rhodes
and
and
it was after McNabb. It was Vic.
Oh,
Right.
they were
It
great
was-
then. You should have been happy.
Yeah,
You should have
they
been like,
they
this team's
were
great.
they were good.
I'm
They
lucky
were
to
good.
live here with this team who's actually real good.
the team was pretty good, but like like Andy Reid looked like he's on the sidelines eating like 17
He looked like
cheeseburgers.
he ate Andy Reid.
And I'm like, dude, this is our football coach.
I'm cutting all this out because
And-
I love Andy Reid.
Oh, come on.
Don't cut it out.
Don't
because
cut my
this is-
line out where
this is-
Andy Reid looks like he ate Andy Reid.
Yeah,
That's a
don't
good
cut that
line.
out. Yeah, so Andy Reid's like literally he's got this play card in front of his face, and like
There's a menu on that
there's
card. by the way.
yeah, exactly. There's plays on the card, but really he's just like phoning in
Right.
like his order for a cheesesteak. I mean, he's literally just all he does is eat greasy food.
Right.
Andy Reid.
Well, he
And
eats
so-
greasy food and he wins football games.
Wins
What's
football
up?
games.
And now he
Unless
eats
he runs out
barbecue.
of time.
And now he eats barbecue
Right.
and wins football games.
Right.
That was when I was coming in. No,
Right,
seriously.
so you didn't care.
That's how I was coming into
Mhm.
football, and I'm like, I literally tried. I tried, and maybe if I had seen this movie, I would be an Eagles fan right now.
Right.
Maybe,
Maybe.
possibly. The Super Bowl 4 years ago, or whatever, where the Eagles actually won,
Mm-hmm.
I still hadn't seen this movie.
Right.
Right?
And that game was pretty much this movie.
Oh man,
right,
backup quarterback,
exactly.
throw into the
Yeah.
backup quarterback,
Yeah.
BDN
The quarterback
man.
calling the play.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I know. I hear
So
you. It's cliche.
I think that's
but
why
it really
like,
happened.
It's why I keep thinking about sports, because I keep thinking of Kelsey's speech on the steps of the art
Yes.
museum.
Ja-
Hungry
Jason
dogs
Kelce
run
is
faster.
This movie.
Dude.
Yeah.
Well, he isn't really, because he
But
was
that
always a
speech-
professional, but
He knew exactly how to dial into this town by
I don't think he was pandering either.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't.
He's
He-
become it.
Yes.
Yes. He might not be
Yes.
from here, but he
And dude, that
He's from
dude
here.
is tough as a box of
Yeah.
nails. Like dude, Kelsey has you'd have to look it up how many games in a row Kelsey has started. Like he plays through injuries. He's
Mhm.
like tough as shit, dude.
yeah, he's like
He's so tough.
who's the guy is it Cal Ripken? Was he the one that played like so many baseball games?
Oh well, I mean, baseball players are just. I mean, seriously,
But
honestly.
he is like the Iron
Dude-
Man. He played like 7,000 games in a row or
yeah,
something like
do
that. It was like a
baseball
lot.
players really? A football comparison would be Jason Witten.
Okay.
He's,
Or Bo Jackson.
Comparable.
Playing two professional sports in the same season.
Bo Jackson is an amazing athlete. But let's get back to
Yeah.
movies.
Rocky. Yeah.
Well, anyways, moral of the story is this movie reminds me of Philadelphia sports. I don't know why.
Right.
It's just
Well, it's a
everything
sports
about
movie
this
set
movie
in
brings
Philadelphia, so I mean,
it brings
that's-
me back to sports, and it doesn't even bring me back. I mean, this is boxing, but all I can think of is the friggin' Eagles.
Right.
And
Because they
And-
kind of hijacked this feeling
yes,
for their stadium.
I don't think they hijacked the state. I don't think they hijacked the feeling. I think the feeling was already there, and
yes,
this
but I
movie
mean, they
tapped
play.
into
They
it.
tap into it by playing the music, by playing scenes from the movie.
Yeah,
during
yeah.
Yeah. That's
But
what I mean.
think
by
it's all in
But
this.
it's all- it's
yeah,
in the DNA.
exactly right.
Yes.
Exactly. And now that I have seen this movie, I kind of wish I had seen it earlier, because then I could maybe root for my hometown football team, which I can't now because I've already written them off, which sucks.
Right.
they're
but-
still in the hunt, man. Maybe this weekend you'll find yourself an Eagles fan.
But it really does suck because that Buddy Ryan team that was like so blue collar and so just pin the ears back and play football. Like it wasn't glamorous. It was
Well, that's kind of how the Eagles are now.
no, but they were good. They were phenomenal, but they were rough.
Right.
They were rough, and they were.
What are you laughing for, Dan?
Oh, just
They
'cause
were-
they're pretty good now. But Travis is like, no.
No, I
but
mean,
back
like-
then they were actually good at football.
No,
Now
no, they're not. No,
they're not Reggie White.
They're
good.
not
Well,
good.
that's true.
They're not
That's
good
true.
right now, though.
They're not.
They're
Seth
not.
Byers.
They're not
They're
good. Have you seen them play the game of football?
only that one
I
time
mean-
my team kicked their butts. That was the only game.
The
I
only
watched this
person
year.
I can think that embodies this movie is Brian Westbrook. When you hear Brian Westbrook talk,
Yeah.
and he used to give his like pregame speeches and stuff, like he is that corner coach for boxing, where he's just
Mhm.
trying to get you up to the point where you can go out and just kill.
Right now, that's Brandon Graham.
Okay. But I used to love watching him do this, and I'm far from an Eagles fan.
Me too.
I literally cannot stand the Eagles because of sports radio and everything. But I am a fan of some of the teams that have come through this city.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm never going to be like, oh yeah, I love the Eagles. Like I just can't.
I don't bleed green. I'll tell you that.
No,
No.
not allowed to.
I mean, literally, we all bleed red, so go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.
I know too many Eagles fans to be an Eagles fan.
Sports radio ruined it for me. And I've been to other towns where the sports radio is obnoxious, but it ain't Philadelphia obnoxious.
Are you talking about? There's 2 sports radio stations that kind of.
It's not the stations; it's the fans that call in.
Oh, okay.
I don't mind the stations. I don't mind the personalities. I can't stand the fans when they call in.
Oh, that's every market. You just need.
I know.
Don't listen to those guys. They don't know what they're doing. Now, George,
very good.
We've talked about before some of your pop culture history knowledge, a little bit lacking. So, I'm going to ask you a question. It's not loaded at all. Do you know the dates of the fight with Apollo Creed?
Do I know?
Were you paying attention to when they actually had the fight? It was New Year's Day. Did you catch what year the fight took place?
No, but I think the first date that flashed on the screen, which was Thanksgiving, or right before Thanksgiving, was 75.
So it's January 1st, 1976.
76, which is when George Washington crossed
the Delaware.
So you've got the 200th anniversary of the United States.
People.
Bicentennial.
And slaughtered the,
right?
Yep.
Yeah, bicentennial.
So, I mean, in Philadelphia, because that's why you have the fight in Philadelphia, right? Like, it's all very Continental Army related, like, patriotism, showmanship, right? Like, it's all, it's kind of pro wrestling.
Comes out dressed like George Washington.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really awkward.
What, being dressed like George Washington? I thought it was pretty fun.
Let me tell you something, brother. In about 10 years, that kind of showmanship's going to make people a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then a couple of big boots.
Yeah. Well, Muhammad Ali was doing it before Hulk Hogan was doing it.
Did he ever take it to that level?
I'm kind of fast.
He was a great talker. Muhammad Ali, I know him as a great talker, but the pomp and circumstance of the entrances and the music and the costumes and stuff, they weren't doing that in the late 60s, were they?
I don't know. I think he was more of a showman in the ring. Like, he would do, like, the windmill with his hands.
Oh, no, he was,
like, the sucker punches and stuff. But he never, actually, Apollo Creed does that punch, that Muhammad Ali punch at some point. But, not the costumes and the
WWF.
Entrances. Yeah, the entrances are big. That's more wrestling, definitely. Jesse the Body Ventura type shit.
Oh, man. Former governor Jesse the Body Ventura.
Yeah.
Let's not take away from that man.
Make you a sexual tyrannosaurus, just like me.
Jeez Louise. Yikes.
I love him in Predator, so I don't like the man at all. But he's one of my favorite Predator characters. Definitely.
He's not my favorite commentator. That's about the only thing I can actually judge him on based on merit. So, not my favorite wrestling commentator, but
no,
but
he
can't
did have
all
a lot
be
of verbal
JR.
battles with Vince McMahon, so I enjoyed that because he did put Vince in his place many times.
So good, guys. We made it an hour into recording, and nobody talked about eating raw eggs. I'm proud of you.
The question is, has anybody tried it because of this movie? Well, obviously George hasn't because he's just watched it.
I remember in college I was at a amateur stand-up comedy show, and there was a comedian who did a routine where, if I recall correctly, this might be Mandela, but we'll never know. That music was playing, and the dude actually drank one
egg,
raw egg, to get hyped up for whatever he was about to do.
So I watched this movie with my 6-year-old because I told him I was watching a boxing movie. I told him I was watching the movie they based Punch-Out on, and he was like, "Oh, I love Punch-Out." Actually, he told me, I'm not very good at Punch-Out, but I really like Super Punch-Out on the Super Nintendo, and so I think I'll like this movie.
But there's no Mike Tyson in this movie.
Well, he's never been to Mike Tyson because he can't get out of the first round. But he's 6, so it's okay. We'll work on him.
That's okay.
But anyway, so he watched the movie with me, and we get to the egg part, and he sees it, and he just goes, "Why is he putting eggs in that mug?" And I'm like, "That's a glass." "Why is he putting eggs in that glass? Is he going to make scrambled eggs?" And I'm like, keep
Kinda.
watching, right? And he goes to drink it, and he just goes, right? And then
Doesn't he know about salmonella?
5 minutes later, right, the movie has moved on. He's just like, what if they took yellow food coloring and they mixed it in and they edited it so that it looked like he was drinking the eggs, but he really wasn't? I'm like, oh, that might work, but that's not what they did. He's like, did the actor really drink those eggs?
Yes, he did.
10 minutes later, after a break, he pops up again. How did he drink all those eggs without cooking them? He's like changed forever. Like tomorrow, he's going to wake up and he's going to be like, hey, remember that movie we watched where the guy drinks the eggs?
That's the only thing he's going to remember from the movie.
It's
equivalent to today, some soy boy getting up and eating an entire roll of cookie dough.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm going to do what Rocky did, but I'm going to do it so it tastes good.
Yikes. He is young enough, though, my youngest, to where like the kissing parts, he's just like, oh, ew.
Yeah,
oh,
ew.
Ooh.
Well, it's ew anyway. it's Stallone. I don't want to see him making out.
I mean, George doesn't know, but before he did Rocky, I mean.
Yeah, he does have
what's
a partially angry pickle.
What's up? That
Italian
stallion, man.
Hey now.
Isn't that the name of the movie, though? Although it's not on his IMDb page under that title. I just always thought that was what it was called.
Yeah, I don't know what his porn name was. I think he only did one movie, right?
My understanding was only one, and it was not. Maybe his portion of it wasn't hardcore or something like that. I don't.
All right. Stallone's brother's in this movie.
Who's his brother?
His brother
Frank?
is Frank Stallone.
Frank's in this movie?
He's one of the guys singing in that a cappella group.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Bobby Stallone.
Frank Stallone.
No, Frank Stallone's an actor. He's
John
in stuff.
Stallone.
Generally, if Frank Stallone is in a movie, you know it's not a movie to watch.
Right.
Oof.
Although he's in Mask of the Red Death from the mid-'80s, which is not a movie we'd ever do for this show. It's not good.
Wolf.
Oof.
Also, Sylvester Stallone is going to be doing a TV show called Kansas City. And the article I saw about it said it's about a mobster from like New York or Chicago or somewhere who moves to the last place a mobster would ever think to go, Kansas City. Which I thought, okay, no one.
The Ozarks?
No one seems to know Kansas City history.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on there.
Yeah. No,
a little bit.
We've had a thing or two. You know, we had a couple of massacres here. We've had some stuff explode. What's up?
Yeah. Yeah. And they touch on that on the Ozark TV show.
God, that show. I never did watch season 3 of that. Was it worth it? I don't know.
It's good stuff. I love it. I can't get enough of it. But that's because I like Jason Bateman. It's not really the show I like.
He is good.
He's so freaking good. I could listen to him read a phone book.
He's the main character, right? The guy from Arrested Development.
Yeah, he just constantly
that's where I know him from.
He's making it up as he goes along. Like he's just He's kind of like for me, Jeremy Piven's another one I love. I could watch him in anything, even bad movies. John Cusack's another one. I kind of like him in almost everything.
He's not in any bad movies.
Cusack? He's been in a few.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know who the writer is of this movie?
No.
I found out I've seen this movie probably 100 times. And it's the first time I'm realizing, watching it yesterday, that Stallone did not direct this movie. I always was under the assumption that he directed this movie, but he only wrote it.
Stallone wrote the movie?
He got an Oscar. He won an Oscar for Best Screenplay.
It's a heck of a script, man.
How did we not start the podcast with that?
Because I wanted to see if you would mention
it.
Yeah. It said written by Sylvester Stallone.
What?
Yeah, man.
So when you were ripping on the beginning, well, not ripping on it, but you were kind of pointing out, I mean, this is, and I found this out during the commentary, he was told part of his contract was, we're going to film that scene where he goes to collect the money from the guy, and he winds up letting him go.
Yeah.
That was the first scene they ever filmed. And the producers of the movie said, we're going to look at the dailies, and if you're terrible in this, you're not going to play this character.
Okay.
Basically, is what Stallone said. Like he was given an ultimatum that if this isn't working, if they don't like the acting, if producers don't like what's on screen, that Stallone's being replaced in the movie that he wrote.
Which I think is fair.
Yeah.
It's
a very shoestring budget.
I don't think that. Yeah, I could tell.
Yeah.
I don't think that it needs to be Stallone for the movie to be
know.
great.
I don't know if anybody else could play that character though. I've seen him do it 6 times. I think Mark Wahlberg might be able to do it. I don't know if he could play the character of Rocky. I think he probably would have just played himself because he's kind of like Rocky. When he talks, he's kind of, his delivery as an actor is not the best. So he might have been able to do it, but it wouldn't have been so characterized. I mean, Stallone kind of created such a character that people thought that was really how he talks. But he's not. He's a pretty intelligent guy.
That's not how he talks?
No, he doesn't talk like this all the time. You know. I mean, he created a character.
Right.
He doesn't have that inflection or that, is it the word dialect, I guess? I don't know what that accent, like everything he does, his movements, like constantly look like he's punching things, even when he's like just opening a door.
That was so weird, bro.
But it was like it was natural to me.
When he's like talking to Adrian through the door, he's like he's got like these punching motions that he's
You
doing.
don't air guitar every time you talk to Meg?
No.
You don't sit there crimping wires like
no,
pantomime style?
I equate it to my sons.
Yeah.
I have 3 sons, 2 of which are very fidgety. They're very, like when they're doing homework or whatever, if they're going over a test, studying, whatever, they always have to be moving things in their hands or flipping pages. Like they're always fidgeting. And I when I watched this last night, this first time I watched this when I've had kids. And I'm realizing that, okay, that's multi-level to this character now. Does he have ADD? Does he have, does he have attention deficit? All these different things. Like you don't know what is something from childhood or from taking too many punches. Like does he have neurological tics? I don't know.
What is that called? CTE?
Is that what it's called?
Not that that's funny, but it's like, is he ADD or is he?
Well, I mean,
has he been concussed too many times?
It's possible. It's possible.
No,
like that's later on in the series. They do say, why don't you block these punches? Like he kind of just comes forward and takes a punch to the face.
That was another thing that I thought.
He's blocking the punches with his face.
In the beginning of the movie, the fight. Another thing I had to look past was he's not holding he's not protecting his head.
Right. But he's not a skilled boxer. He says that in the commentary. He's playing that on purpose. He's not a skilled boxer. He's doing it because he has to live. He's surviving. He's not a skilled boxer, and that's why Mick thinks he's not what he should be, or he's not reaching his potential because he's just not doing the things that are necessary. Like I say to my kids when you play sports, yeah, you might want to go out and play in the game, but if you want to be great at the sport, you have to be doing it all the time. If you want to be an NBA player, you can't just go out on game day and play basketball. You have to go out on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, go in the driveway, do 3-point shots,
you got a pantomime shooting every time you talk to a girl. That's just part of it now.
Through a door.
Through a door.
I just think it's second nature for him, and that's why he's doing it. Like he's just kind of getting himself up. He's trying to, almost like psyching himself up to talk to her. So the only way he knows how to psych himself up is to be in a boxing ring.
It's weird.
It is weird, but it makes sense.
But it's okay. It's okay because I looked past it, and I
looked past the very deep character development.
I looked past it into the heart of this movie, and I love the heart and the core and what this movie stands for and what it is.
Yes.
I do like this movie. I love this movie. I do like it. It's very close to me.
So where do we go from here, man?
We're going to watch a movie.
Well, I'm trying to decide if we go somewhere different or we let you kind of see where this character goes a little bit.
No, just do whatever you want. Don't give me any autonomy, like Dan says.
Because I think the second one rounds a lot of things out for you.
See, and I feel like this movie shouldn't have had a sequel, that this movie is perfect and they should stop here. Because anywhere you would go from here, I think would be too
Repetitive?
too far outside of what could actually happen, right? Like, at the end of this movie, as a challenger off the street, he put in a good effort and lost the fight and won his moral victory. And
I
that's
agree with
about as good as you can get expectation-wise.
It can't go up from here.
Anywhere they go from here is going to be unrealistic
It's
and
not
unnecessary.
True. That's not true. It's not true. You're at the budding beginning stages of their relationship.
I mean, how many Rocky movies are there? Like
there's
9?
6.
Okay, 6. That was close.
Plus all the
5
Creed
can be-
movies.
5 can be skipped. 6 is pretty good. 4 is great for its time, for what it is. 3, they're almost like Jason movies, but good. Like they
Wow.
all have their.
Wow, shots fired.
I know.
They all have their thing that make them great.
So they're like the Halloween movies where it's like, yeah, Halloween 2 is okay, but really we would be better off if we never showed any of those movies besides the first one to George.
That would be Rocky 5. You can be without that. Rocky,
Is that Jason Goes to Hell?
yeah. Rocky 2 is enough of a different story and development. But yes, it is about a rematch. But there's so much more. So if we don't watch it for the show, because rematches never happen in the boxing world. Sorry.
I'm like, I don't know that much about boxing, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they happen all the
do.
time. But it's more than a rematch. But we don't have to watch it.
I mean, we can watch Rocky 2. But I don't think I'm going to I think after Rocky 2 we'll probably move on to some greener pastures.
I recommend watching it. Let's put it that way.
Let's just do Rocky 2 but do it with enthusiasm. We're doing Rocky 2.
All right.
So up next is a movie that continues a story. So we will watch Rocky 2, and you will get to see the development of these characters a lot more than you've already watched.
I'm not sure that I want to see that, but okay.
Well, if you're going to have that attitude, then no, we won't do it.
Get your notes ready.
Well, let's put it this way. We should watch it.
I don't know
Whether
how
you
this...
watch it for the show, I don't know.
No, that's
Maybe
fine.
you let
No,
us know.
we'll do it for the show.
But you did watch 9 Jason movies. You can watch Rocky 2.
That's
But
true. I
again,
can watch all
it was
6.
9 Jason movies as a mid-season special, not the first episode of the season.
No, you're right. You're right.
I don't know, man. I don't see how this could get better.
Okay.
But if you say so.
We did watch Godfather 1 and Godfather 2 as part of a regular season.
We
and
did,
Godfather 2 sucked.
And yeah. And we watched Nightmare on Elm Street and Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and luckily
2, right.
Nightmare on Elm Street 2 was perfect.
What?
We did. We watched 1 and 2 in regular season. We watched Silent Night, Deadly Night.
And then we watched Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 while we were recording the episode just for the eyebrows.
For eyebrows.
Garbage day.
Garbage day. Yeah.
I think our audience would not turn their nose up to watching probably the better of the two. It's like saying, let's watch Alien and then not watch Aliens.
Okay.
Let's watch Terminator and not watch Terminator 2. Oh.
I've never seen Rocky 2, guys. But I'm seeing who directed it, and I'm intrigued.
Let's watch Rocky 2, bro.
Rocky 2.
Let's do it.
Now, this one takes
Like I
place
said,
in New York,
I
right?
like-
He's left Philadelphia behind for the better city of New York. Is
Yeah,
that
they
right?
go to MSG.
The better, yeah.
I think it
the better
takes place
city.
in MSG.
Oh, for real? I was just kidding.
I think it does.
Oh, man.
better
It might be Philly. No, it happens in Philly.
Okay,
it has
good.
to happen.
I'm lying.
in
It
Philly.
happens in Philly.
It has to be Philly, man.
Yeah, it's
This
Philly.
is a Philly movie. Americans were not underdogs until Rocky, and then Philadelphia inspired us all.
Yeah, it's definitely Philly.
That's what I learned from our show tonight.
What's that?
That
I
America
heard
didn't have underdogs until Rocky, and then Philadelphia
Yeah.
inspired us all.
They kind of did. His name was George Washington, and
Never heard of him.
He was kind of counted out until he crossed the river and killed a bunch of British people on Christmas Day.
He didn't actually kill them.
Well, he kind of did.
He went over to kill them, but then
they just gave up.
But then they gave him $130 instead of $200, and he let him go.
Right.
All right. Thank you for joining us on the Remedial Film Class Podcast. As always, you can find us at facebook.com/remedialfilmpod or at Twitter and Instagram @remedialfilmpod. We'll be back next week with Rocky 2,